Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a great Friday, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. The twists and turns in this story, friends. Well, actually, on second thought, it's kind of hard to call them twists and turns when they're basically exactly what I predicted a couple of days ago. Democrats refused to subpoena this guy, clearly compromised, totally corrupt. Maxine Waters said that was fake news and that she was willing to subpoena disgraced criminal Sam Bankman-Fried to get him to testify in front of Congress. But this entire time it seems as though there has been some sort of deep state Washington scheme to protect him, or probably better said, to protect them from what Republicans or what some individuals might ask him, considering the connection of Sam Bankman-Fried to these deep state Washington goons. And people said I was wrong, it was fake news. Well, he did for less than 24 hours, then instantly pulling out in the end. Sam Bankman-Fried refusing to answer questions because he wasn't feeling well. And it was just so busy, or really they were just dragging it on, and Democrats refused to subpoena him. Imagine had this been someone connected to Donald Trump? I think they would have held back that subpoena. Of course, not everything is all just too convenient. And now we're learning that Sam Bankman-Fried has officially been arrested and is being charged with defrauding American consumers. And the timing of it all is just, well, too convenient. We've got some stuff to talk about, just the craziness of it all. We got a lot of updates in the Sam Bankman-Fried situation. Alright, folks. So here it is. Sam Bankman-Fried has been arrested by Bahamas police following a receipt of formal notification from the United States that it has filed criminal charges against SBF and is likely to request extradition. We have a statement from the Attorney General of the Bahamas, Senator Ryan Pender Casey, on the arrest of Sam Bankman-Fried on the 12th of December 2022. The Office of the Attorney General of the Bahamas is announcing the arrest by the Royal Bahamas Police Force of Sam Bankman-Fried, former CEO of FTX SPF. His arrest followed receipt of formal notification from the United States that it has filed criminal charges against SPF and is likely to request his extradition. So Sam Bankman-Fried has officially been arrested, at a bunch of bombshells are dropping. FTX has Bankman-Fried charged by us for scheme to defraud. The U.S. government charged a Samuel Bankman-Fried, the founder and former CEO of crypto exchange FTX, with a host of financial crimes on Tuesday, alleging he intentionally deceived customers and investors to enrich himself and others while playing a central role in the company's multi-billion-dollar collapse. Not only is he currently being accused of consumer fraud, defrauding customers, telling them he's going to do one thing and then doing another, but he's also facing charges of illegal campaign donations. Bankman-Fried was previously one of the world's wealthiest people on paper. At one point his net worth reached $26.5 billion. According to Forbes, he was a prominent personality in Washington, donating millions of dollars to Democrats and Republicans. From what we understand, he's more of a Democrat donor. But anyways, that's besides the point. U.S. Attorney Williams said Tuesday that Bankman-Fried made tens of millions of dollars in illegal campaign donations. The Daily Mail is also reporting that FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is begging Bahamas judge to grant him bail because he's, quote, too depressed and vegan for jail. Womp womp womp, he was just denied bail. His parents leave court to fetch his meds while he's accused of hiding over $300 million in a Brazilian firm before filing for bankruptcy. So clearly, it's looking pretty bad for Sam Bankman-Fried. It seems as if the feds feel as though they have the information. They have the evidence to charge him. To be completely honest with you, none of that was really in question. At least that's my opinion. There's been massive red flags from the start with this whole thing. But what I really find odd is the timing. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested on December 12th. During the afternoon, or possibly in the evening, he was being called upon to testify on December 13th. Of course he was refusing to go, but I mean, he could have been subpoenaed, and perfect timing. The feds come in with charges asking for his extradition the day before he's to show up for questions during a House hearing. Now, does that seem fishy to you guys? Because to me, it seems mighty fishy, and it seems to be piling on to what we've been seeing with Maxine Waters and all the media fluff pieces with this guy. They're trying to protect Sam Bankman-Fried because they're trying to protect themselves. They're all connected. Sam Bankman-Fried, leading the biggest crypto scam to date. And that crypto scam defrauding regular consumers not only in the United States, but worldwide. That money funded the anti-Trump machine, Whether it be the Democrat establishment or the neocon anti-Trump never-Trumper Mitch McConnell wing of the GOP. And so you mean to tell me that it's just a coincidence that this guy gets picked up the day before the hearing? It's just a coincidence that Democrats this entire time, after having nearly a month to set up this hearing, refused to subpoena this guy even once. You mean to tell me that all of a sudden on December 12, the feds managed to gather all of the evidence that they needed to charge SBF with fraud? I may not be the smartest guy on the planet, but I need that stupid. I wasn't born yesterday. Something stinks. These dirty politicians very quickly want to shove this one under the rug. They don't want you to know that they're all pretty much connected to this massive scheme. And most importantly, they don't want to give the money back. And this is some big news. Pentagon chief says Russia is modernizing and expanding its nuclear arsenal. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Russia is modernizing and expanding its nuclear arsenal as its invasion of Ukraine continues, and Putin has made threats about using nuclear weapons in this conflict. Austin spoke on Friday at a ceremony for the new head of the U.S. Strategic Command STRATCOM, Anthony Cotton. The agency is responsible for strategic nuclear deterrence, nuclear operations, and missile defense. Cotton took over for Charles Richard, who had served in the roles since 2019 and retired on Friday. Austin acknowledged several challenges facing STRATCOM in the near future, including the expanding Russian nuclear arsenal and Chinese nuclear forces that are growing, modernizing, and diversifying. Quotes. And as the Kremlin continues its cruel and unprovoked war of choice against Ukraine, the world has seen Putin engage in deeply irresponsible nuclear saber-rattling. He said. He continues, quote, "So make no mistake, nuclear powers have a profound responsibility to avoid provocative behavior, and to lower the risk of proliferation and to prevent escalation in nuclear war." He continued. Putin this week insisted that Russia's nuclear arsenal would only be a quote factor of deterrence in the war with Ukraine, but he has repeatedly made threats throughout the 9-month war that have concerned. Democrat megadonor SBF arrested just hours before facing questions from Congress. Democrat megadonor and FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas on Monday just hours before he was scheduled to testify in front of the House Financial Services Committee on Tuesday. They have been freed was arrested after U.S. authorities filed criminal charges against him. U.S. attorneys confirmed, quote, "Earlier this evening Bahamian authorities arrested Samuel Bateman-Fried at the request of the U.S. government based on a sealed indictment filed by the SDNY." United States Attorney Damian Williams said. It continues, quote, "We expect to move to unseal the indictment in the morning and we'll have more to say at that time." However, some politicians quickly pointed out Bankman-Fried's arrest came just hours before his highly anticipated testimony before Congress. Quote, "Tomorrow Sam Bateman-Fried was scheduled to testify in front of the House Financial Services Committee at House GOP was ready to grill him 6 days to Sunday," former New York Republican gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin tweeted. He continues, quote, "Now breaking tonight SBF was arrested. Why not allow him first to testify tomorrow and answer our many questions?" Sam Ben-Fried told Waters and the committee last week that he is, quote, "not sure if he would be finished learning and reviewing what happened with FTX before the committee wanted him to testify on December 13. However, on Monday, just hours before his arrest, Sam Bankman-Fried to confirm that he would appear remotely before the House Financial Services Committee, rather than in-person appearance because he is, quote, "quite overbooked." And he stated, quote, "I don't think I will be arrested." It raised prepared remarks, which he released ahead of his testimony. Ray said the FTX collapse, quote, "appears to stem from the absolute concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of grossly inexperienced and unsophisticated individuals who failed to implement virtually any of the systems or controls that are necessary for a company that is entrusted with other people's money or assets." New GOP oversight share demands accountability for catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal. House oversight Republicans pledged to use their newfound majority to hold Joe Biden accountable for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan last year. That withdrawal, which was the subject of much controversy, left 13 U.S. service members dead, billions of dollars of military equipment behind, and pledged Afghanistan into chaos as the Taliban quickly took power. U.S. Representative James Comer was selected to chair the Oversight Committee and pledged in his acceptance to dig into what went wrong in Afghanistan and who is responsible. That investigation is one of several piquing Republicans' interest as they lead the House for the next 2 years. Quote, The destructive path paved by the Biden administration ends when Republicans have the gavel in January. He said, "We will continue our investigations into the national security threat posed by the Biden administration's family influence peddling and shady business schemes. Biden's border crisis and the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Biden's energy crisis, waste and mismanagement of pandemic relief funds, and so much more." Comer did not waste any time plunging into the Afghanistan withdrawal. The same day as his chairmanship was announced, he sent a letter to several Biden administration officials demanding relevant documents, information and communications. Quote, "It has been over a year since the Biden administration's botched Afghanistan withdrawal, and the American people have not received any answers about this national security and humanitarian catastrophe," he wrote. He continues, quote, "U.S. servicemen and women lost their lives. Thousands of Americans were abandoned. Billions of taxpayer dollars are still unaccounted for. Military equipment fell into the hands of the Taliban. Progress for Afghan women has stalled, and the entire region is under hostile Taliban control. Under a Republican majority, the Biden administration's obstruction of this investigation will be matched with the power of the gavel. We owe it to the American people to provide answers, transparency and accountability." Critics have blasted Biden for Afghanistan as well as Ukraine, saying sending such large sums overseas without enough oversight is a recipe for disaster. Quote, "Supporting our allies, does it mean blindly sending tens of billions of dollars with zero accountability?" U.S. Representative Brian Mast, a veteran, wrote on Twitter. He continues, quote, "Biden's shoot first and ask questions later approach is exactly how we wound up in the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan." Cuba's Castro regime gives warm welcome to congressional Democrats. A delegation of 3 U.S. Democratic Congressmen Representatives Jay McGovern, Mark Pocan and Troy Carter traveled to Havana over the weekend to meet with several members of the communist Castro regime, as well as the Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel. The meeting between Democrat representatives and senior Communist Party members occurs at a time when the Castro regime's continued human rights violations. The growing number of arrests and incidents of harassment against political dissidents, and the inhumane conditions of the regime continues to submit them to have caused a dramatic upsurge of Cuban citizens desperately trying to flee communism over the past year. Representative McGovern's appearance in Cuba is of particular note as he is the co-chair of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, a U.S. agency dedicated to studying and countering nefarious Chinese regime influence in the United States and advocating against Beijing's human rights violations. Cuba is a client state of China's, most recently receiving $100 million in aid from China following Díaz-Canel's visit to Beijing just a month ago. According to the Castro regime's National Assembly, the Democrats' delegation first held a meeting with communists and Cuban lawmakers on Friday, promoting the quotes of normalization of relations between the United States and Cuba. Quote, "A common goal is to work so that both governments normalize their relations," Representative McGovern said during the meeting. He continues, quote, "Both nations must find ways to work across differences on issues of mutual interest." Cuba's National Assembly informed via a press release published on Saturday that following their meeting with the communist lawmakers, the Democrat delegation was received by the President of Cuba's National Assembly, Esteban Lazo, and nonetheless and his delegation last hour. This highlighted the transcendence of the meeting, while expressing that, quote, "As neighbors, the closer we are, the better we should relate to each other. Quote, we want to work together with you to tear down the walls to have a more mature and constructive relationship for the benefit of the peoples of Cuba and the United States." McGovern stated. The U.S. representative reportedly added that according to him, there are no reasons for Cuba to have included in the United States list of state sponsors of terrorism. In November, U.S. officials announced that the Castro regime will soon resume receiving deportation flights from the United States for Cubans fleeing the communism. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below and